What's going on, everybody? Dave McCrae here. Hey, folks, how you doing? Dave McCrae here. It is Tuesday morning, January the 28th, 2020. The Thing is being remade, supposedly, from Blumhouse and Universal Pictures, and Halloween test screenings. Halloween Kills test screenings are coming. What does it all mean? What are test screenings? How do they work? Should we give a fuck about test screenings? And The Thing remake, of course, from Blumhouse and Universal Pictures. It is Tuesday, like I said, Tuesday, January the 28th, 2020. It's great to have you guys here on the show. This is episode 10 of MCRAE Live. MCRAE Live. We're just, 30 seconds into the show, 54 people already watching. That will no doubt climb, as these shows usually do when we are talking Halloween. But we're not just talking Halloween today. We are also talking The Thing. That's right. The Thing. That guy right there. We're talking The Thing. Well, we're actually not talking John Carpenter's The Thing. We are talking about a potential remake that looks like it's a foregone conclusion here. I mean, this is what it looks like. The Thing is being remade, according to many horror outlets that Universal and Blumhouse are ready to go. They are ready to tackle The Thing remake. So I'm going to start with The Thing before we move over to these Halloween test screenings. So let's start with The Thing. Let me read you the article from bloodydisgusting.com. So this is what Bloody Disgusting had to say. All right, let me just see here. Let me bring up over here and do that. Okay, so Bloody Disgusting, this is coming from bloodydisgusting.com. As most are aware, John Carpenter's The Thing, this guy right here, and the film that preceded it, 1951's The Thing from Another World, the one that you saw in the original Halloween, there's a little bit of a connection there, were both adaptations of the novella Who Goes There, penned by John W. Campbell Jr. It was first published in the August 1938 issue of Astounding Science Fiction, and an expanded, never-before-seen version was recently unearthed. Now that's cool to me. Okay, I'm kind of like, really? So a never-before-seen version was recently unearthed. Okay, tell me more. Come on, tell me more. Tell me more. What is this, right? Back in 2008, John Betancourt, hopefully I'm saying that right, announced the discovery of a novel-length version, not a novella, okay, a novel-length version classic, and he took it to Kickstarter to fund the release of the novel titled Frozen Hell. Frozen Hell. It's crazy. Betancourt explained, and I quote, "In 1938, acclaimed science fiction author John W. Campbell published the novella Who Goes There, about a team of scientists in Antarctica who discover and are terrorized by a monstrous, shape-shifting alien entity. The story would later be adapted into John Carpenter's iconic movie, The Thing, following an earlier film adaptation in 1951. The published novella was actually an abridged version of Campbell's original story. Where am I here? Sorry, called Frozen Hell, which had to be shortened for publication. The Frozen Hell manuscript remained unknown and unpublished for decades, and it was only recently rediscovered. Frozen Hell expands the Thing's story dramatically, giving vital backstory and context to an already incredible tale. This week, Betancourt has provided an incredibly exciting update on the fully funded project, announcing that Blumhouse and Universal Studios are adapting Frozen Hell. The movie will, and he, quote, the movie will be from Universal and Blumhouse. Everyone is super excited about it, and it's being fast-tracked. That's not always a good thing. But nonetheless, this is the news. Betancourt explains, expanding upon an announcement that was actually first made by producer Alan Donnes. Am I saying that right? It strikes me as it could be French. But nonetheless, Donnes, Alan Donnes, over on Facebook this past Friday. He said, quote, "It's official. I received my signed contract and first check. I'm an executive producing a remake of The Thing, but with additional chapters of John Campbell's groundbreaking novel, Frozen Hell, that has been lost for decades. Now, for the first time ever, Campbell's full version will be realized on the big screen. The new film will include the very best of RKO's The Thing from Another World, John Carpenter's classic, The Thing, and both books, Frozen Hell and Who Goes There." And then, of course, the article finishes off by saying, just to be sure, we did some of our own digging and sources have confirmed that all of this is true, according to bloodydisgusting.com. And of course, will continue, W-E''LL, will continue to update on the project as we learn more. So there you have it, folks. That is coming from bloodydisgusting.com, that there is a remake of The Thing in development. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Dave, you must be really excited. I mean, you read that article with such passion, Dave. You read passion. Well, that's just because I got to make it interesting for you, and it's Tuesday. You got to fake this shit sometimes. Okay, look, there is no doubt that when you talk about John Carpenter, because although the 1951 The Thing from Another World is a classic in its own right, and if any of you have watched that movie, it is really good. I mean, again, it's a product of its time. Okay, so you have to keep things within context, but it's actually really good. When you watch John Carpenter, but it's it's not as true to the source material. When you watch John Carpenter's The Thing, it's more true to the source material, but even they take some liberties. Well, to find out that there's actually more meat on the bone that was ever known publicly, really at the end of the day, is interesting to me. But, of course, like you, I am worried about all the same things you are, right? Why remake this movie when really it's unnecessary? Well, that's really rhetorical now. We know why they remake movies, because you go see them. That's why they remake them, because you go see them. Money, 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 money. I mean, that's why they do it, folks. This is a business. If you don't like it, don't go see it. It's that simple. But it's really not that simple. But there's a lot of untapped potential here. Obviously, there was a remake / prequel in 2011 that got mixed reviews. Not a lot of people liked it. I know they were heavy on the CGI in there, and but so I'm not surprised by this at the end of the day, especially of the discovery that there's more meat on the bone, and there's stuff about this that can expand the story. And I read another article. There must have been another quote that Bloody Disgusting either didn't provide in their article, or maybe they weren't privy to. I read somewhere else a quote by one of the same two guys there who said that there is so much more richness, and I'm hoping he's right, that when you look at Who Goes There, I think is the name of the novella, I think. Who Goes There? Who Goes There? Who Goes There, right. And when you look at the stuff that they've discovered, what I find particularly interesting was something he said about how there's so much more meat on the bone, but with the characters, so much more character development. That is the one thing that no pun intended, but that's the one of the things that is so important about remaking this movie or some form of it. This is a character-driven story. Yes, the aliens are important, 100%. Yes, the effects are cool, and I get all that. But this is a character-driven story. And if you don't take the time, whatever you do to approach this remake, if you don't take the time to nurture and develop and really sort of, pay attention to the characters you are developing, really hone those characteristics that make each character in this movie distinct and original. And because we need to fall in love with the characters. That's what the thing is really about. It's about the human it's about, what would you do? What would we do? I mean, it's not about this, obviously. Well, like it is to some degree, but you can't help it when you watch the movie like The Thing. And again, even John Carpenter's The Thing is a little dated now. I mean, it looks pretty good. It holds up well, especially if you watch it on Blu-ray, or is it on 4K? I'm not sure. But anyway, it absolutely, there is a very strong human condition character component to it. When you watch that movie, you can't help but think to yourself, fuck, what the hell would I do in that kind of a situation, right? And then of course at the end of the movie, you really don't know what's like, and then it just kind of ends, right? You're like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? It really is about characters. And the aliens, yeah, that's cool, but it's about the characters and how they adapt to what's going on and how they start to go crazy and they start to get some cabin fever and like, what the fuck, like what's real, what isn't, who's infected, who's not. I mean, it's so about them. It's not about the glitz and the glam and the special effects. That's important to a degree, but it's really about the characters. So if there's more meat on the bone and you want to tell this story again, I mean, look, they're going to tell it whether I give a shit about it or not, or whether I agree with it or not. I mean, this is a business. They want to make money. I get it. But John Carpenter's The Thing, although it didn't do very well at the box office when it came out in, 82, I think? It has since found a cult following. And it has since been sort of looked at, in retrospect, as, wow, this actually is pretty good. It's actually really good. It's a very good 80s science fiction alien monster movie. It's very well done. And it is. It's probably, to be fair, it's probably Carpenter's best movie. When you look at everything. Now, Halloween is my favorite. You absolutely could make an argument and say, no, Halloween is his best movie. But Halloween was also one of his first movies, right? And he was still finding himself as a director. He had done Assault on Precinct 13, but he was still coming into his own. By this time, he'd done a couple of movies already. He was sort of hitting his stride, right? And when he does The Thing, which he was a big fan of, the original, I believe, it was, of course, John has I was going to say a love-hate relationship with the studios, but let's face it, it's more of a hate relationship. But nonetheless, I mean, it's certainly when you ask most people, what is your favorite John Carpenter movie? 90% of people will say, you know what? It's Halloween or it's The Thing. And you might get maybe Big Trouble in Little China in there. You might get They Live in there. But The Thing is absolutely in at least everybody's top three. It's a really good movie. But when you watch that movie, you've got really good actors, and it is no doubt that it is a character-driven film. We need to fall in love with these characters. We need to feel that the stakes are high for these characters. This is not an alien invasion movie, as more as it is. It's more of it's almost like it's almost like the alien version of, do you remember that movie from the early 90s, Alive, about, I think it was the rugby team that crashed in the mountains, right? And they had to survive based on a true story, right? That's like it's about survival. It's about the human condition, right? Yes, it's about aliens and what the fuck is going to go on, and we got to see that. But if your characters are one-dimensional, flat, run-of-the-mill, cookie cutter, just serving if the characters are there to just serve the aliens, forget it. Don't do it. The aliens need to be there to serve the characters. They're there to complement what's going on. You should be able to make a movie like The Thing and tell a story like The Thing and not even show an alien for like the first hour. And we are so enamored and so engrossed in these characters and the buildup with what's going on and the chemistry and the kibitzing back and forth and really feeling these characters out, that by the time we get to the aliens, it feels earned, and we don't even, it's like, wow, fuck, it's an hour into the movie and we haven't even seen an alien yet. Yeah, you might allude to some things. You see the ship buried, in Antarctica or something, and some weird shit begins to happen and stuff like that. But we're so engrossed in these characters, and that is what is so important about The Thing. And if you're telling me that there is more meat on the bone and there's this, well, that's awesome. That's cool. I forget what site I read it, but somebody said, like I said, that one of those two guys said that, oh, there's more character stuff. And I'm like, okay, Blumhouse, Universal, if you're watching, don't fuck that part of it up. Listen, there's no way of knowing whether this movie is going to be good. There's no way of knowing whether this movie is going to be great. There's no way of knowing whether they're going to do it right? At the end of the day, we don't know that. We don't know who's directing it. They're still in development. So they haven't gotten that far. Now, do they have ideas of maybe who they want? Are they talking to some? Yeah, more than likely. But that hasn't been announced yet because a script probably still hasn't been written for it. So an adaptation's probably it's in the process of being developed. And Blumhouse, man, don't character. Listen, character. I mean, you might be thinking, well, yeah, isn't that self-explanatory? Character, true, but there are movies where you can get away with having more traditional sort of cookie cutter characters, and there are certain stories where you tell where it's so important that, because if we don't believe that these characters are really in trouble, if we don't care about what happens to these characters, if you didn't believe and care about Kurt Russell's character, you wouldn't care about that ending. You wouldn't be like, oh, fuck, oh, what the fuck, right? Like, what the fuck? It's so important, way more important than any, way more important than that. That's important, and that's going to be cool to see, right? That's cool. Yeah, sure, of course. We got to see that. But it means nothing at the end of the day if we're not invested in these characters. And so that's important, and that's something that I think should be a real focus here. Don't half-ass this. Don't think of it, oh wow, because of the technology, look what we can do now. Look what happened with the Thing prequel in 2011. There are some people that like that movie, but they really leaned heavily on the CGI. We know that, right? And, but there's a variety of reasons why they do that. Obviously, it's cheaper to do that. It's faster to do that. You don't have, it's more compartmentalized to do that. It's just easier and cheaper to CGI things. It just is. I mean, it's always about the bottom line. So, but I do agree with a movie like this, and with practical effects being more. Now, there's always going to be computer generated imagery, which is what CGI means. There's always going to be computer generated visual effects, even in practical effects heavy films. But the difference, of course, like I've often said here on the show, is that we can't really tell the difference, right? It's seamless, and that's important. You don't want to be brought out of the movie with an alien or aliens or whatever that look very computer generated. Make this movie special. Make this remake special. If you're gonna do it right. Don't be afraid to dish out an extra few whatever to really make that something special. Because I can tell you, despite what the executives think, they don't. We need CGI. We need no, they don't. No, they don't, man. They don't. And they're not asking for it. They want something to look cool, and they want something to look gritty and organic and holy crap, right? Not something that is missing the nuances of the depth and the layers that you sometimes miss when you CGI things. And again, we've come a long way. Granted, this movie's 13 years old now. I'm a huge fan of the movie The Mist, right? Love that movie. Directed by Frank Darabont, who also directed The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, and fantastic writer. Fantastic director. I wish he would direct more features. But that being said, really liked The Mist, and the ending just shocked me. And Darabont was like, if I can't do that ending, because they initially didn't want him to do that. And he was like, if I can't do that ending, I'm not directing the film. And so they're like, okay. Well, that ending is one of the greatest endings probably in science fiction history. I mean, it is unbelievable. There's a lot of great endings in science fiction. I'm just saying that's got to be up there. It's one of the most iconic. Oh my fucking God, no way. Are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? But there's a scene in that movie. Most of the stuff looks fine, and it's 2007. So, for 2007, it looks fine. But there's a scene in that movie when that worm type creature is trying to get through the back door of the grocery store or something. And it looks like ass. It looks like fucking ass. It looked like fucking ass in 2007. So it probably looks double ass today. It was awful. It was awful. And again, I know the CGI's come a long way, and there's no evidence to suggest that if they did make it all CGI that it would be awful. I mean, we don't know, right? But with something like The Thing, it's a unique story because you're not really competing with the 1951 original. That's not what you're competing with here. That's not what people think of when they think of The Thing. Even though that was the first, The Thing from Another World. That was the first, and it's good for what it is. That's not your benchmark. That's not what you have to compete with. That's not what you have to overcome in order to get people excited about this remake. It's this one right here. This is what you have to overcome to get people excited about this remake. Why do you need to remake it? There's no point in remaking it. This one was fine. It was perfect. It was great. I agree. But you know as well as I do, they're going to do it. And it looks like they are. Okay. You have to do your best. You've got to convince people, hey, I know you're not excited because you don't want, but listen, this is going to be special. We're going to honor this, but we're going to make this movie proud. We're going to make John Carpenter proud. We're going to make, John Campbell or whatever proud. We're going to make you as the fans proud. And I think the first step into doing that is understanding that this is character. That's what The Thing is. It's all about loving those characters, rooting and feeling for those characters, and, of course it's 1982. So, it's more of the John Carpenter's film. So, and I'm not suggesting when you watch The Thing from, John, Carpenter's The Thing, excuse me. I'm not suggesting that it's this deep-seated, drama with all this character. I'm not saying that. No, it's a product of its time. But when you watch it, you can definitely see the attention to the characters that Carpenter implemented, that he made sure that these characters were very distinct, very different from one another, to the point where if I was reading the script, and this is very important, this is for all you script writers out there, this is very important, that when you are developing characters and when you are writing a screenplay, it's very important that your characters have very specific traits and very specific identities to them. Now, I don't mean ridiculous. I'm just saying that there should be, to differentiate characters between one another in a screenplay, they shouldn't all sound the same or be, I should be able to cover the names of the characters in a script and read a few pages and within a good probability be able to pick up on who's who without actually seeing the name. And that's important. And when you watch The Thing, each character is quite distinct. There's other examples of that, of course, but we don't want this run-of-the-mill sort of horror movie. It's beyond that. This has entered the pop culture horror zeitgeist, right? So you're not remaking, like, as much as I love Black Christmas, okay, the original, and it has since, thanks to the internet and social media, it's since now starting to get more recognition. But it was a Canadian movie, released in the US in the 70s under Silent Night, Evil Night. And now, of course, you can get it in the US as Black Christmas. But Black Christmas isn't one of those movies that there are still tons of people that don't know about it, never heard of it, haven't seen it, don't care for it. This is different. If you're going to remake this, you gotta pay attention to those details, man. And, people tend to think about the aliens and the cool. Yeah, but it's the characters, man. I mean, think of that last shot in Carpenter's The Thing where, they're just sitting there sort of like, almost like they're waiting, for the other to, because neither of them know. And it's like, for me, I'm like, fuck, can you imagine Neither of them can trust each other at the end of the day. You can't. You can't. And neither of them almost even knows. It's so fascinating to me. It can be a horror movie, but it can also be a real sort of dive into the human psyche of what happens in that kind of a situation. You can take what Carpenter did and bring it to the next level and make it even more interesting and deep, with all sorts of different layers because of the material you have now that you've discovered. And that's what I'm hoping they do. I hope they don't just take this and it's just more stuff. It's just more stuff they can add in because it's cool. It's like, no, man, don't do that. So, if you were to ask me, are you excited about a Thing remake? No, not really. I'm not excited, but I'm not excited about it. It's just more of, well, it is what it is. It doesn't surprise me that they're going to do this. I understand that with the discovery of this manuscript and all of this extra juicy stuff that apparently is there, I understand how somebody, a writer, a filmmaker, would be very enthralled by that and very excited about that. I get it. I understand it. And that makes sense. It's not that they're just remaking this. They're not just remaking this. They've got all this other source material now to bring into a remake, which hopefully will, I think that's their idea, elevate it to the next level. But we know these things can go the way of the dodo bird very easily. We know that. So I'm not excited about it. I'm just my advice, if they were ever to watch me, would be character. Yeah, focus on the aliens, sure, but make us, sign good actors. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that you have to get somebody like a Leonardo DiCaprio, but that's the level that I'm talking about, right? Because DiCaprio is believable in every role he's in. He's intense. He can bring the intensity when you need it. He can bring the subtlety when you need it. He can bring a bit of the humor and wink when you need it. That's the level. Like when I watched Shutter Island a couple of weeks ago again. Love that movie. That's the level that I'm talking about. Is that level of understand, like just bring that level, and I don't want to see, I don't know, I don't know. Jake Gyllenhaal is another guy that would be interesting to see in a movie like that, right? That's the level I'm talking, like make sure you hire actors that can bring it, that can bring it. I'm not saying you have to hire DiCaprio or Gyllenhaal. I'm just saying those are examples, right? Of when you see them, you're like, yeah, because they bring it. I believe that DiCaprio is that guy in every movie he's in. I believe that Gyllenhaal is that guy in every movie he's in, and that's what I'm talking about. It's character. The alien stuff, that's cool. That's important. But man, with the Thing, we gotta feel like we're one of those guys. We gotta feel like we're there. We gotta feel that. We gotta be like right there. This has the potential to be something really special, but it also can really quickly. So I would be. I'm not excited, but I'm not excited. I'm cautiously curious. I think is like interesting, because I really love this movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Probably my third favorite Carpenter film. It could easily be first, but I think if I was being honest, I would say Halloween's probably is, my favorite. Probably followed them by The Fog. I have a soft spot for The Fog. And then The Thing. But nonetheless, this is like, if you're going to do this, man, understand the subtleties of what is really important in this movie. Because if you get us emotionally attached to those characters, if you get us invested into those characters and those performances, you got us. You got us. And then what may, and again, I'm not saying you half-ass everything else, you don't, but what may then be, oh, that's a CGI scene, we may now forgive it, because everything else, the crux of the story, the characters, is so is so interesting and just it's contagious. It's so like, this is so, I'm fascinated by these dynamics between these characters and how they're interacting. It's so good that, you make a little bit of a boo-boo here or there, it's not a big deal, right? But if you don't get those characters, that other shit that you do incorrectly is going to stand out huge. Okay, so that's kind of how I feel about it. That's in a nutshell at this point in time with that information. That's how I feel about this Thing remake that they're going to do. Let's jump over now to my second topic, which is the Halloween test screenings, Halloween Kills. HalloweenDailyNews.com has reported that the Halloween Kills test screenings are happening, I believe, this Thursday, January 30th in Los Angeles. Now, do test screenings matter? Should we give a fuck? Should we care? Dave, did you hear on Reddit that somebody said the test screening sucked? I heard it on Reddit. I get my news from Reddit. I love Reddit. You guys like Reddit? Reddit's great. Reddit can be great. I agree. Reddit has come through. But they've also had dumpster fires of nonsensical crap as well. Look, here's the thing with test screenings. I've been to a couple myself. And, okay, the crux of it is this. It can vary, okay? And what I mean by vary is what I'm about to tell you is generally speaking. Okay. And that is test screenings. First of all, there are sites I forget what the sites are, but there are sites you can sign up. You can get on a mailing list. It's not guaranteed because it depends on where you are in, the world, right? You might not be near a spot where that might be happening. Sometimes they have them in your hometown as well. Or if you're known in the industry or if you're known or, whatever it is, sometimes you get a personal invite. It is free. And you generally have to sign an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, which just means that you will not talk about what you've seen here or anything. That usually doesn't prevent anybody from talking about it. I'm going to Reddit right now. It's fucking shit. But you're not supposed to do that. Because if you are, I've signed many NDAs in my life. There have been many auditions that have come to me in the world of voiceover and even about things that you kind of not laugh at, but you kind of go, oh, really? Want to sign an NDA over that? It doesn't seem like it's a big deal. But they have their reasons because sometimes they don't want their competitors to know what they're doing. Sometimes they have something they feel is really they don't want it out there because, this is the world of advertising and entertainment. And, it's business, money. Sometimes millions of dollars are at stake. So there's been many times where I've had to sign an NDA, even when I've been like, really? You don't want to talk about that? Okay, I won't talk about that. But I sign it. And if I were to talk about it and they found out about it, you can be sued. That probably wouldn't happen to me because there's another thing they could do, which would be just to fire me from the project. When it comes to the average Joe who's going to a test screening, who isn't signing, who's not part of the project that they're signing an NDA for, it doesn't usually come to. But they could if they wanted to. It doesn't usually go that far, but they're counting on you to honor what they've asked, and you've signed, but it's legally binding. So just remember that it's legally binding. So if they ever found out, you don't want to run into any problems. But so you sign an NDA saying I'm not going to talk about anything, and then you're there with other people, and so you're now, barring an emergency, you're not supposed to leave. I mean, if you have to take a crap and you got to run it, you gotta go, right? If there's an emergency, you gotta go. But these people that talk about these tests, people walked out, they didn't fucking care, they left it, they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. You can't walk out of a test screening, okay? I mean, you're supposed to, you've agreed to be there, you've signed the NDA, you're there, you're watching the movie from start to finish. At the end of the movie, you fill out a questionnaire, and the questionnaire, asks, what would you rate it? Did you think the movie was excellent? It was great, good, poor, shit, whatever. It asks you about the beginning of the movie. It asks you about the middle of the movie. It asks you about the ending of the movie, what you thought of the ending of the movie. It may ask you what your favorite scene was, what you didn't like about the movie, and you fill that out. And sometimes a representative from the studio is there, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes at the end, some people leave, but there's a focus group that sometimes happens, and they start asking questions. And sometimes the person asking you is a direct representative from the film or the studio or whatever the case is, and they try to pick your brain and get insight into all that kind of stuff. But usually the movie you're watching is an unfinished product. It's not a completed film. Now, again, that's generally speaking. That doesn't mean that in all of test screening history that they've never shown a finished film. But usually it's not finished. So the music is not like, for example, although I won't be attending it, it's entirely possible that the music you hear in the test screening for Halloween Kills on Thursday night is in fact not the new music that they're going to be putting in, but it's the old music from Halloween 2018. They would probably use that in there to help amp it up a bit. But when you go actually see the movie, there'll be new tracks, or variations of, because they haven't completed that yet. There might be some effect shots in terms of the gore and things like that might not be complete yet. They may tell you that, keep things within context. There might be some scenes that seem a little awkward or strange. You're probably not watching a 4K version of the movie. It's a test screening is just to gauge an idea, right? Of it's good for the studios. It's good for the marketing department. The marketing department wants to know, who enjoyed it. There's certain, they appeal, they bring people in from certain demographics, certain age groups, certain ethnicities, and it's a business. It's a business. Now, you don't usually see test screenings from the real high blockbusters that are trying to keep things really under wraps. That's why I can tell you that Star Wars did not have a test screening. Internally, they would have for JJ and his friends, or Kathleen, or for the crew, sure, but a public test screening they did not have. So that those rumors about people just got up and walked out. They just got up and walked out. No, didn't happen. I'd put money on it. But with the smaller films like Halloween and things like that, they want to test it, right? They want to test it. But because there's so many variables at play with test screenings and so many unfinished things, that when you hear a test screening was good or a test screening was shit, means nothing, because so many things end up changing, right? Even if something is good, it doesn't mean anything, because it's one person coming out on Reddit, I thought it was fucking amazing. It's like, well, it's okay. It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, because in a lot of cases, what ends up happening is that these groups of people that are watching the test screening are in a position where they either feel they have to compliment it, they don't have to compliment it. Sometimes they see something they really like, but it's their first. You have to take into consideration that you're seeing something for the very first time, so you haven't had any. Even if you do like it, you're psychologically, it's that first sort of showing of something you've yet to see, so you might like it more than you actually do when you've had time to sit on it. And the same in reverse, right? The same in reverse. It's so many. There's so many variables. It's just like, hey, what do you? A test screening is just, what do you think of this? This is what we're thinking. Right. And like I said, a lot of the times it's unfinished. A lot of the times there's unfinished shots, not the music. Sometimes there's not even music in there. It's fucking just random shit from another movie, not even entirely. That happens as well. I went to a test screening here in Toronto a number of years ago, and I remember sitting in the theater. It was my first one I'd ever been to. And I remember the guy came out, the director of the movie came out, and he said, "No, listen, this is not finished. Just so you know, you're going to see some wires and a couple of boom mics. It's not finished. But we want to gauge sort of your reaction in the direction we're going. And what do you think?" That's why you have to really pay attention, right? And keep things within context. And sure enough, it was strange, but I could certainly see where they were going and what they were doing. And they hold early test screenings because they want to be able to gauge audiences' a general reaction from that they're generally targeting. And so they have time to make certain changes if they see fit. Now, at the end of the day, if it's always up to the studio. I mean, if they think, no, we, okay, well, a couple people said this, but whatever, then they won't change it. But if enough people say this, this, and this, then they might take it into consideration, be like, okay, what else do we have? What should we do? Sometimes they hold 2 test screenings at once. In one theater, you watch one ending of the movie, and in another theater, you watch another ending of the movie. Or in one theater, you watch one beginning of the movie, and in another theater, you watch another beginning of the movie. That happens too. So, and I'm not saying all of this is going to happen with Halloween Kills. I'm just saying that there's no doubt that somebody will probably get on Reddit, and don't do that. Please don't do that. Okay? I'm going to do it anyway. Of course they will. And they're going to say whether they liked it or didn't like it, what's in it and what isn't in it. But just take it with a grain of salt. Because it's all in the execution, and what you like, somebody else may not. What I like, you may not. It's like those people right now with the leaked script from Colin Trevorrow for Duel of the Fates, right? Episode 9. And there's been leaked concept art, even though Trevorrow has come out and said, actually, that concept art is not for our movie, even though it's beautiful and fantastic and blah, blah, blah. But even the concept art for The Last Jedi was fucking amazing. That's the point. The concept art that's the point, right? The point is that it's supposed to look good. It's a snapshot in time of someone's visual, like it's supposed to look good, right? That's the purpose of concept art is to present a visual illustration of the concept of what they're thinking. And it always looks spectacular, right? And sometimes it ends up being way better than what's in the actual movie. That tends to happen from time to time. But what I'm saying but it's not indicative of whether or not the movie's going to be good, right? Great concept art doesn't mean that Trevorrow's episode 9 would have been better. I guarantee you, because of the toxicity that exists in the world of Star Wars, Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates would have come out and it would have been like, fuck that. They should have gone with JJ. They just should have gone with JJ. It's just, you can't, it's just, and you fucking know that. You fucking know that. You know it. So back to this, it's like, who knows? Somebody doesn't like it. You may love it. You might think, that sounds like crap. Yeah, in bullet point form on a piece of on a screen in Reddit, of course it's going to sound like crap because there's no nuance there. There's no those tiny idiosyncrasies that you get with watching it executed on screen, right? So just temper your expectations. If you read the spoilers, which you will, if you read it, and if somebody is on Reddit or wherever saying, this was it, here's what happened, that was shit, it was fucking garbage, it was this, whatever, and the same goes with it being great. Right? Because bullet point form of describing a scene, it doesn't mean anything, right? There's so much lacking in doing that, that you've got to take it with a grain of salt. And also remember that if somebody says this was garbage and then starts into what they thought was garbage, 9 times out of 10 psychologically, because you've already seen that person say this is garbage, you're going to now be reading this under the illusion that this is garbage, right? Do you know what I mean? And same with this is great. And then you're reading this almost expecting, feeling, I'm supposed to think this is great. It's just don't pay attention to it. Test screenings happen. There's focus groups. It's for the studios and the marketing. Sometimes movies are improved. Sometimes they're not improved, but just as soon as I heard that they're holding test screens, I thought, oh God, here we go, because you know as well as I do that somebody's going to jump on Reddit, some boneheaded fucktwat's going to jump on Reddit, either somebody who actually was there or somebody who doesn't have a life and needs to get online and create the illusion that he was there. And write something about it being garbage. I mean, you just know that's likely going to happen. Don't listen to it. Or better yet, don't read it. You know, go and judge it for yourself. It's the main reason why I was fortunate enough a year and a half ago to see Halloween 2018 at the world premiere right here in Toronto. And that was at the beginning of September. The movie didn't come out until the 19th of October. And I remember when I jumped online after seeing the movie, I gave you a general sort of, I saw the movie, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't tell you anything about it. I told you nothing. Do you guys remember that? I literally told you nothing about it. 98% of you appreciated that, understood it. Totally was like, Dave, thank you so much, got it. And then there was 2% that was like, oh, fuck you. You're not going to fucking tell me to fucking this, that. And I made a video where I said, the reason why I'm not telling you what I think is because I don't want you going in with because I know that people listen to me and sometimes value my insight and opinions and what I thought. And if I start planting that seed into your head, whether I liked it or not, then you're going in expecting one or the other. And I wanted you guys to go and judge it for yourself. And I didn't talk about it, didn't mention it, nothing until I think it was the Monday after it was released, I dropped my big epic review. And I think the same thing needs to be approached here when it comes to Reddit and leaks and test screenings. Just don't listen to it. It doesn't, look, if one person says it was crap, there's no way to verify that they were there as well. That's why you have to, for everything that Reddit gets right, they have 900,000 other things they don't get right. Because right now, I could create a Reddit account, go online, and drop the biggest fucking spoiler over something that doesn't exist that you've ever fucking seen. But Dave, all the Rise of Skywalker spoilers weren't true. Yeah. But let's talk about all the other shit that appears on Reddit and has appeared over the years that hasn't been true, right? You can't cherry pick things to fit your narrative, right? 9 times out of 10, because that doesn't mean that things on Reddit aren't true, but because it's so easy to make shit up and write something on Reddit that isn't true, you have to take things with a grain of salt. Everything, especially from some guy. Well, Jim Johnny Jedi 444 says, well, Halloween big man Michael 4 Mask says, and who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? So let's just temper your expectations, take it with a grain of salt, and understand that test screenings are important, but they're important for the studios to gauge sort of the general consensus of an audience that is usually their target demographic. They have different ethnicities in there. You sign an NDA, you fill out a form, and it's just, it's very sort of, the film, for all intents and purposes, is very much in its infancy still. It's pieced together, it's locked together. There's some, bass tracks in there to kind of help give it some spice, and they just want to gauge what's going on. It doesn't mean that you're not going to like the movie because some guy who went to a test screening didn't like the ending of the movie or something. Just remember that. Don't get so hot and emotional about all of that, because I see it. I see people get depressed. Oh, fuck, it's over. It's fucking over, man. It's over. What happened? It's on Reddit. Fucking on Reddit. Look at this. Point 1, point 2. It's like, dude, that's bullet point form. There are some movies out there, and I should do this. I should bullet point form some of the greatest movies ever made and read them to you and see how ridiculous it sounds. And you'd be like, well, that sounds kind of shit. Yeah, because you're not getting the context of all the visual and the nuance and the pacing and the timing and the spectacle and the feeling. And, it's just, it's words on it's not even a script. It's bullet point. Anyway, I've gone on and on here. Again, according to HalloweenDailyNews.com, there is a test screening that's happening this Thursday, and that doesn't surprise me. That's likely true. HalloweenDailyNews.com is usually a good, credible source, and so that's likely happening. And it makes sense to happen at the end of January because you still have the rest of the year to make the necessary changes or reshoots where it's needed. And and that's another thing. Before we jump over to the Q&A here, that's another thing as well. Is to understand you've heard me talk about this, but let's not get all our knickers in a twist, as the Brits would say, over reshoots. Reshoots are a good thing. They are a good thing because it's always about making the movie better. Reshoots in and of themselves don't mean that there's drama on set. Can it mean there's drama? Yes, but they're not mutually exclusive to each other. Usually, reshoots, especially over the last number of years, are budgeted into the budget. They factor this in now because, listen, I've never made a Hollywood film, but in the independent films that I've helped edit, in my own little shorts, in the projects I've been a part of, I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, you go out, you shoot, you come back, you start piecing it together. That's why there's that saying that movies are made in the editing room. Because at the end of the day, it's not that you lackadaisically don't pay attention to what you're shooting. I mean, obviously you do that and you look at the dailies and you figure all that out. But at the end of the day, you really don't know what you have until you start piecing it together in the editing room. And then 9 times out of 10, you're like, oh, fuck, we totally should have got that. It's like, oh, man, that thing we were going to shoot and we did. You were right, dude. You were right. All right. We'll go back and, get it. And that happens all the time, and that is usually what's happening, right? Is that they start piecing things together and they realize, damn, that thing that we were going to get that we didn't, we should have got that. Or what we could have right here? We should have totally this, and blah, blah, blah. And if you're really lucky and the project was tight, then a second unit does that. And you don't have to call, the main actors in. Maybe it's just a couple of cutaways. Maybe it's some insert shots, whatever the case is, right? And you don't, Spielberg himself doesn't necessarily have to get up at 7 a.m. and, lunk his ass out there and start, reshooting this whole thing, if you're lucky. But sometimes they can be extensive reshoots. Sometimes, oh, damn, we need that whole other scene. So the director, comes on board and then they get, a couple of the actors there. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's bad. It means that they've looked at something in the editing room and it means that, oh, you know what? We believe we need this now to make this make more sense and make it better, right? I think that, there's this bad connotation now around reshoots because every now and then there is a movie that goes into extensive, reshoots because somebody fucked up or because there was drama on the set or, look at Solo, right? Solo is a real exception. I mean, that doesn't usually happen. You don't usually shoot a blockbuster that size, shoot 90% of the movie, the directors get fired, bring in another director, and then reshoot the whole movie again. That doesn't usually happen. You can't use that as, you see, and it's like, come on. I mean, that's an exception, right? 9 times out of 10, it's it's reshoots. Okay. We're going to go out, we're going to get this scene and that scene, all that kind of jazz. And that's why I never, they're going out to reshoot but inevitably sites they're reshooting. There must be a problem. Why didn't you get it right the first time? Why were you not perfect the first time? You went out there, you shot it all. Why didn't you get it right the first time? How come you're not fucking perfect the first time? Well, it's because damn, man, you got high expectations. Holy snapping crap. Yeah. So if the test screenings seem to show that the vast majority of the focus group or the vast majority of those that are there don't maybe don't like it, or maybe the vast majority of the questionnaires afterwards show that, if they go out to do some reshoots, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. So just keep that in mind as well, because that's likely to come down the pipe in the news too. And I just want everybody to just kind of, it's okay. It's all right. All right. And don't believe every fucking thing you hear on Reddit. Hopefully I've been able to clear some of that up for you. I know most of you probably already know how test screenings work, but there are a lot of people that don't. And just, remember that they're usually focus groups or select people that go in that are part of the demographic that the movie appeals to. Sometimes they have other people that aren't because they want to gauge sort of the general audience reaction as well. And you sign an NDA and you watch the movie, and usually the movie's not finished, and you got to keep that in mind, and you fill out the questionnaire. And sometimes, like I said, there's a focus group and they take, questions and blah, blah, blah. But it's not, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, because it still can go either way. There's so many unfinished things. It's just gauging ideas, okay? Just gauging a sense. It's a sense. It's not like they're showing the movie, you know what I mean? It's usually a movie in the works. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Just don't, and please, Reddit. Oh my God. Fuck, you think Reddit was the gospel. Hey, let's move over to the chat room. The chat room is here. Great to see everybody. 226 people watching. Oh, great. I love you guys. This is fantastic. Frank Riker's here. Darren Sands is here. Aaron Click is here. Mark Warling is here. Lawrence XRP. Hey, Dave. Hello from California. Yay. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just going to get a copyright strike for that, I'm pretty sure. Striker87 says, do you think studios should release the original version before reshoots as an alternate version or special feature? I don't think H18 has released their original. No, I don't think so. I do believe, though, that once you release a theatrical cut of the movie, I don't mind director's cuts. I don't. Because, you know, as you guys know, in a lot of cases, depending on the director, depending on the relationship with the studio, you know, the studio essentially, if they don't want something in there, it ain't going in there. Now, if you're a Scorsese or a Spielberg or, you know, somebody of that clout, maybe you'd have some say. But David Gordon Green, if Universal doesn't want something in there, it doesn't matter what David Gordon Green says. So I understand sometimes the need or the interest for a director's cut, and some directors push for it, fight for it. I get that. And essentially, the director's cut really is supposed to be the director's real vision before any meddling from the studio, essentially. But I don't like films being released. I don't like what, and I didn't see the movie, but of course I'm aware of it. I don't like what Endgame did last year by releasing it, and then they're crying essentially because it looked like, and they actually were not going to pass Avatar. And so they were crying whiny little babies, and they decided to release the movie again with an extra 5 minutes or something. And I didn't see it, but my buddy did, and he was like, it was nothing. It was a waste of my fucking money. But you can't get your money back once you pay. So they've already got it. And that is what barely pushed them over Avatar. So I don't like that. I think that's chintzy. I think that's cheap. It feels disingenuous. I feel deceived, and I don't like that. No, release the fucking movie. That's the fucking movie. You want to you want to release a director's cut, okay? But releasing something like that with an extra, oh, by the way, no, release the fucking movie. The movie's the movie. I don't like what George Lucas did. I don't. I mean, although I will say, the special edition where it actually didn't bother me that much would have been The Empire Strikes Back. I thought the meddling that he did there wasn't too bad, but the principle of it, I don't agree with. I don't think you should do that. No, those were the movies and nobody's complaining because, like, dude, that was the technology at the time, right? It's not like, we're looking at A New Hope, Empire, and, Return of the Jedi, the originals, okay? Like those guys back there, those VHSs, those are the originals without all the, special edition crap. It's not like I would watch those now and go, holy fuck, George, come on. No, anything in that movie that seemed a little, it's 1977, man. It's 1980. It's 1983. Like I'm not sitting there going, holy fuck, and I think most fans would be like that. If they had effects in there today, I might be like, what the fuck are you doing? But I didn't think that at all. And I think it was unfortunate that he did that because even the CGI, the level of CGI that they had in the mid 90s was in its infancy still. Like it's not to the level we have now. So when you watch A New Hope today, oh my God. That Jabba the Hutt scene with Han Solo, oh man, that's cringy. Fucking cringe. Like it's just like, it didn't hold up. I mean, maybe if you were to do the special edition today, because of how far we've come, it might be like, wow. You know what I'm saying? But now, ooh man, you watch that, it's like, George, I think you jumped the gun a little bit there, buddy. But yeah, so I wouldn't do that personally. I wouldn't do that personally. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. No, I didn't. Did I? Nope. Good. That's good. Let me scroll back down here. It's great to see you guys here. 232 people watching on this Tuesday. Toronto Freddy says, what's up, Dave? What's up, Toronto Freddy? Smiths Grove, Dave, H18 trailer ruined my experience for me. What are your thoughts on movie trailers today? Well, they do what they're supposed to do. I mean, I think ironically enough, I think the market has shown the reason why we see so much in trailers is because generally speaking, the market has shown that people want that. Now, you might not want that on an individual level, but sometimes when trailers don't show enough, people complain about that as well. So I do think trailers do show too much. I do. I think the thing that bothers me, and the Halloween 2018 trailer is a perfect example of that, is just that when you show the end result of something, like it would be okay to show Vicky in the 2018 trailer about to open the closet door, and then you cut to black and you see Halloween. You know what I mean? That's cool. But to show Michael actually it's great for marketing. I understand. It's a great shot and it is a great moment to end a trailer on. Unfortunately, with the good comes the bad, right? Like you've heard me say, we know that character is going to die. We know when she's going to die, how she's going to die, and where she's going to die 5 months before the movie comes out. You know, so when I see her on screen, I'm like, oh, she's going to die. Now, 9 times out of 10, when you watch a horror movie of this kind of thing, a girl who's introduced who isn't the main protagonist, they're probably going to die anyway. So, I mean, you know, there is that, but it's always bothered me. That stuff bothers me when they show you sort of the end climactic moment. You're like, I kind of know how that's going to go. Like, that's why, don't do that. Like, just dangle the carrot, tease me a little bit. Right. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, do they show too much? Yeah, but not every trailer does, but boy, when a trailer shows too much, they show too much. Let's see here. Super chat from Frank Riker says, Dave, how do you feel that you are a part of history stuck in the cloud forever? Oh, you mean like in YouTube? I haven't really thought about it like that, Frank. Ooh, that might be a good, like Black Mirror episode. Of course, they've already made. Have you guys watched the Black Mirror episode, the Star Trek one, essentially, where that guy, I forget the actor's name now. He's great. But he goes to work and he taps into, like, he's having his own sort of self-indulgent Star Trek fantasy where he's the captain and he's making, and everybody at work who doesn't really like him, he ends up being the boss for them in his own fantasy. And anyway, have you guys seen that episode? I loved that episode. I thought it ended a little abruptly for me. I wanted a little more, but that was a really cool episode. I got to watch more Black Mirror, man. There's some great episodes on there. I love that because I love the cerebral psychological stuff about it. It's great stuff. Let's see here. Vegas Courier says Black Christmas 2019 showed so much they didn't make a second trailer. Maybe it could be used to show people what not to do in a trailer. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't make a second trailer. I don't think that was probably part of it, but it might have been. I don't know. I do know that, yeah, I mean, obviously that movie was a disaster on all fronts, and you know why. It's not because I'm a sexist pig. It's because I think they did themselves a disservice. I believe that if you want to make a movie about with a strong subtext about the political themes that were in that film, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. I may not agree with it, but you're allowed to do it. But looking at it objectively, taking my emotions out of it, I think they did themselves a disservice. I don't think their message got across at all because I think they went about it the wrong way, you know, and I think the movie just should have been called Slay Girls. You know, I think exploiting the Black Christmas, using the Black Christmas name was chintzy and not authentic. And I'd have more respect if they didn't do that and just let the film sort of lay on its own merits, you know, and people might have been more accepting of it. You know what I mean? Ironically. So unfortunately, I think they did themselves a disservice, but yeah, it did show a lot. You're absolutely right. Let's see here. Brady McCatherine says, Dave, you're almost at 20K. I am. Am I? I am. Oh, 19.9. I am. I'm almost at 20K. That's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. I mean, I never thought that I would hit, well, you know what? I never knew where it would go. You know, I've had this channel since 2006 and mostly just uploading weird shit from time to time, Halloween stuff. And then, yeah, thanks to my girlfriend, she was like, no, you know, you got to go in there. You know, you got to talk about that stuff, man. You got to talk about it. I've been doing it now for 2.5 years on here, and I jumped from, I mean, I'm not exploding or anything like that. It's a steady climb. There's obviously a lot of channels that have more than me, but there's reasons for that too, right? I'm not a movie reviewer, so I'm also not, I'm not reviewing films, but to have it at 20K almost, I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Still, I mean, very small, but cool nonetheless. Jason Wiley says 20K is a new 1 million. It might be, buddy. It might be. Let's see here. Chris Baber sends a super chat. Thank you very much, Chris. The Thing has great practical effects. It does. Oh my God, does it ever? Yo, it does. Like, I would love to see that in this new remake. I'd really like to see that. I don't think we're going to see it, but I'd like to see it. I got to admit, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think it would be cool. Frank Riker sends in a super chat, says, thoughts on McBride stating hat tipping on H456. Is he doing that in this new one? I think it's unnecessary. If he said that about doing it in this new movie, stop it. Stop doing that. Listen, the whole fucking reason that you have gone back to Halloween 2018 was because the other movies suck. They're crap. You boxed yourself into a corner, right or wrong, you know, redeeming qualities in some of them. Yes, sure. There's some things in some of them I like. Sure. But at the end of the day, the reason you've gone back is because you had nowhere to go. And I quote John Carpenter, who was asked, so why did you do it, blah, 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 blah. And he says, have you seen the sequels? I mean, come on. You know, we know why they went back. And now don't worry about, stop, you know, own it. Don't say, you know, the thing that frustrates me about this is, okay, you know what? We're going to erase all of this, but we feel kind of bad. So, you know, we'll dangle you. But that's so condescending and pretentious. Listen, if you tell me you're going to get rid of it, you know, if you tell me you're going to get rid of it, then have the balls to own it. Stand up and say, we're not doing this. These don't exist anymore. Okay, sorry, they don't exist. Have confidence in your writers, have confidence in the product you're putting out, and don't worry about tipping your hat all the time. Listen, if there's little nods, fine, you know, but I still think it's unnecessary. When I rolled my eyes, as cool as it is, it's fan service, as cool as it is, and it's fine, it's not a big deal. But I sort of rolled my eyes when I found out that the hospital in Halloween Kills is called Haddonfield Memorial. And not only is it called Haddonfield Memorial, it's the exact same logo. And it's unnecessary to do that because Halloween 2 from 1981 doesn't exist. So Haddonfield Memorial was not introduced until the movie that ceases to exist now. So you could have called it Haddonfield, Haddonfield Hospital, St. Vincent Haddonfield, or whatever. I mean, maybe that would have been a little too, you know, religious. I don't know. But you could have called it anything, and you could have had the logo anything because there's no continuity that you have to adhere to. Is it cool? Sure. Is it a big deal? No. But it just makes me think, as a writer, don't you want to have your own? You know, I mean, the hospital in and of itself called is it really going to bring in that much more money? Is it really going to put that many more asses in the seats? You know, I just don't understand. I don't understand why. And again, it's not a big deal. And even I, as a fan of the original 1981 film, the original Halloween 2, I find it kind of cool too. I mean, it's like, oh, it's kind of cool. Okay, I get it. You know, it's not a big deal. But it's the principle of those things that I'm like, this is unnecessary. You don't have to do that. Spend your time. Don't spend your time thinking about how do we honor the shitty movies that came before. Spend your time on how do we make this movie great. You know, and maybe the climax shouldn't happen in a hospital. Like maybe they feel, well, no, we got to have a hospital scene because Laurie's brought to the hospital, and you know, and then but maybe you feel, you know, subconsciously, maybe there's this sort of, they might not even be aware of it, but subconsciously they feel that, well, it's Halloween 2, Laurie's brought to the hospital, we should tip our hat to Halloween too. Like maybe this is all sort of where maybe if they felt completely liberated, they would have come up with something better. You know, I'm not saying they would have, and I'm not saying it's wrong to do what they're doing. I'm not saying that. But I do find that if McBride said that, it's like, dude, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Who cares? They don't exist. Don't tip your hat to them. Don't worry about it. Anyway, that's kind of how I feel. Vanderhoff, 664U says, I sent you something in the mail. Did you get it? I will have to check, Vanderhoff. I'll have to check. I know my assistant collects those things, so I will have to check if I got it. Luke Stoll says, back nods, Halloween is not Marvel's Avengers. That's a good point, too. Like, I don't mind if it feels organic. I don't. The season of the witch masks in Halloween 2018, that didn't bother me. It didn't bother me because it felt organic. Like they're on kids trick-or-treating. Oh, cool. Like it blends in with the background. It's 4 seconds. Not a big deal, right? The Haddonfield Memorial Hospital in Halloween Kills, we don't know yet. We don't know if it's going to feel a little too on the nose, whether it's going to feel organic. Who knows? We're not sure yet. I'm okay. Like you guys know me. I mean, I'm okay with fan service, but I don't think it should be like when I hear that they're going to pay tribute to 4, 5, and 6. I'm kind of like, why? Like, why? Like, it just don't worry about it. Just make a good movie. That's really all we care about. We really don't care what the fuck the hospital's name is. Like, really, at the end of the day, nobody cares if it's Haddonfield Memorial or if it's Haddonfield Saint Memorial, whatever. Nobody cares. If the movie is good, winning solves everything. It does. It does. So that's where the focus should be. Not that they're taking that much time on, figuring that out, but I just think it should be really important to focus on that. Mystery Mojo Film sends us in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, hey, Dave, would you make who would make a better Loomis if Halloween was remade and Loomis happened to be black? Samuel L. Jackson or Denzel Washington? I think Denzel, If Samuel Jackson is, the problem, I love Samuel L. Jackson and I love Denzel Washington. The problem with that though is Samuel Jackson almost has become a caricature of himself. And so whenever you see him on screen, you almost expect him to be like, well, fuck you, motherfucker. You fuckity fuck. Yeah, fuck ass motherfucker. Like you expect him to start swearing all over the place. And that's not Dr. Loomis, right? Now, does that mean Samuel couldn't not do that? Well, of course not. He's an actor. He's supposed to adapt to the role he's in. And he definitely could bring a level of intensity that would be interesting. That would be cool. Denzel, that's interesting. My instinct wants to say that I'm not sure if Denzel has the intensity needed, but I think he does because Loomis, the character of Loomis was built on the foundation of, especially if you're remaking Halloween, it's subtle intensity. I mean, by the time you get to Halloween 4, he's 6 bodies, Sheriff! Right between here and Ridgemont, a fueling station in flames. I'm telling you, Michael Myers is here in this town. He is here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way. I mean, by Halloween 4, it's like, wow, right? But there's reasons for that. I mean, look at the shit he's been through. And Halloween 4, Halloween 2 is canon. So look at the shit he's been through. He doesn't want to happen. I get that. But if you were to remake Halloween, Dr. Loomis in Halloween isn't intense. He's got subtle intensity. You know what I mean? He's a little more calm, cool, and collected, but serious. And I think Denzel could pull that off. I think Denzel could also pull off intense Loomis, but they're so iconic. I mean, would we just see Denzel getting angry? You know what I mean? It's you know what? Excuse me, man. That's a good question. It's a good question. It is. I'm leaning towards Denzel, but I'd be open to Samuel L. Jackson coming in and proving to me that he can not drop an F-bomb every 5 seconds. That's funny. Let me see here. Did I miss any super chats? I don't believe I did. I think I'm all caught up there. All right, we'll go for another 15 minutes to 12:30, and then I got to skedaddle. I got some things I gotta do today. Ronaldo Lopez says, how would you feel if Loomis had a daughter and she knows as much as Loomis and figure out how to manipulate the shape? A little shoehorned in, a little on the nose, a little convenient, perhaps. But I think there is a lot to the Loomis character that we don't know. And I think there is a lot you can explore with the Loomis character that would be very interesting. It's one of the things that I'm excited about. Somebody asked me yesterday, I think it was, on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, are there any things I'm excited about when it comes to Halloween Kills? I guess this would be one. Not excited. I mean, I think excited is a little is a little too much. But I'm very interested in how they're going to handle the characters. More specifically, Brackett, and even more specifically, Marion. Because you're saying that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, don't exist. So the only one that exists is one. So Marion is still alive. She's the character, is still there. But we have to remember that scene with her in the back of the car and Laurie is Michael's sister and, and her saying, Michael, get your ass over here. And she runs into that never happened. Never happened, right? We have to remember 2 doesn't exist. Hard to, but it doesn't. So the last time we saw Marion was at the beginning of the original Halloween, right? Driving in the car, out on the road, trying to escape Michael. Well, I would assume then Michael is caught. That's the story. Dr. Loomis was alive for the next 20 years or something. I assume Marion would have continued to be his nurse. So there's probably information that Marion has about Michael and about Loomis and about that gap that is a mystery that might be really interesting to discover. Now, having said that, my worry is you don't want to show too much or tell too much because, forgive me for sounding like a broken record, but the integrity of the mystique and the enigma of the shape must remain intact. So you don't want to have like this barfing scene of exposition where Marion is telling you the why of Michael Myers. You don't want to have that. You still want the mystery to be there, but there's subtle little nuances and things that she could maybe throw us, our way, just little insights that might be really interesting about the continued relationship that I imagine she had with Loomis and Michael moving forward all those years, right? That's interesting. I find that interesting. And then when you look at Brackett, what I find interesting is, did he have a relationship in terms of, Michael murdered his only daughter, presumably his only daughter. What was Brackett doing all those years? Did he want answers? Did he go to visit Michael? Like some of those, you see those shows where, they go because they want answers, they want closure. Did he go to try to get Mike? He was the sheriff of the fucking town. How long was he sheriff? When did he retire? We know in Halloween 4, which is no longer canon, he retired in 1981 and moved to Florida. But that's not canon. That doesn't exist. So when did he retire? What was his story? How has he gotten over the emotion? And I believe we're probably going to find that out. But I hope, because there's so many characters now we have to attend to, that is a worry of mine. We got Lonnie, we got Marion, we got Brackett, we got Lindsay, we got Tommy. Those are 5 returning characters that were not in Halloween 2018 that we now have to give attention to. And that's why I believe that Laurie will probably spend the vast majority of her time in Halloween Kills at the hospital recovering, and that the climax will happen there. And I think the vast majority of the movie will be those 5 people being reintroduced into the story, finding out where they are, how it's affected all of them, and they're out on the hunt for Michael Myers. That is my prediction of what Halloween Kills is going to do. But yeah, man, it's, I don't know. I think I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. A couple super chats. Frank Riker says, never explained when Loomis knew Michael was evil. Well, I think it was just sort of suggested he spent 8 years trying to reach him and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because he realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. But I think Frank is talking about the moment, the aha moment. You're right. And I don't think we need to know that. I think he spent 8 years trying to reach him. And then somewhere after that 8 years, he realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil, right? So then he spent the next 7 trying to keep him locked up. What that moment was, I don't need to know. Maybe you guys need to know. Maybe you guys want to know, but I don't need to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know because, it's like, I don't know, man. To me, that's got to remain a mystery. We can fill in the blanks, we can fill in the blanks on that. Super chat from Mark Warling says, Dave, when you see Dr. Sleep, will you do a video on what your thoughts were on it? Looking forward to hearing what you think of it. Great movie. Maybe. Yeah, I might. Yeah, I might. I've yet to see it. I'm waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray or streaming, and then I'll watch it. Actually, I think, is it available on streaming now? It might be. But I've yet to see it, but definitely looking forward to checking it out for sure. Super chat comes in from Big G, says tributes are done because no imagination from I think you mean tributes are dumb because no imagination from Blumhouse. You know what? I disagree with that, Big G. I think that there's nothing wrong with paying homage to what's come before, but you don't need to, like, you can do it once and then move on, right? I don't think, I don't let the homage to Halloween be the fact that you're going back to do it right. That in and of itself should be the homage, right? We're going back and doing it right. We want to please you guys. We want to give you something you guys can be proud of. That's how you best pay the fans back. Because if the movie is crap, I don't care if, Rachel from part 4 makes an appearance. I don't care really if the movie's or if the movie's I don't care if we see on a shelf in the background the Halloween Myers mask from part 4. I don't care if the movie's crap. The best thing you can do and how you really tip your hat to the original is making it like the original. I mean, or in the, when I mean that, what I mean by that is making sure that you utilize all the things that made that movie special and continuing the tradition. You don't need to start, putting in shit from Halloween Resurrection and Rob Zombie's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Part 2 and, and H2O and Part 6 and Part 5 and Part 4 and you don't need that. You don't need it. I don't care. I really don't care. I just don't. So, but I don't think they don't have no imagination. I just think, they're in the business of making money, right? And they know that nostalgia is really big right now in the world of entertainment, and it taps on the heartstrings. And yeah, I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. But I just hope that they're able to temper that a bit because, it's important. Danita Brown says, haha, you were so funny, Dave. Too funny, Samuel Jackson. Can you imagine? Yeah, well, yeah, because you certainly don't want it to be like that, because you don't want a Busta Rhymes thing, right? You don't want a Busta Rhymes thing. Do I have my Busta Rhymes thing here? Where's my Busta Rhymes thing? Is it this one? Trick or treat, motherfucker! That's not Busta Rhymes, by the way. That's me. That's me saying that, but... Trick or treat, motherfucker! Love that shit. Oh, let's see. Another 5 minutes to go on the show. 5 minutes to go on the show. 218 people still watching. That's awesome. I think we hit about 230, 240 today. It's great. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. It's Tuesday afternoon here now, 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Willie Talbot says, hi, Dave. You rock, dude. Keep up the YouTube. I really like your YouTube channel. Thank you, Willie. Much appreciated. Let's see here. DMT Infinity says, how are you doing today, Dave? Spent my weekend with my family, drinking, smoking on some bud, and connecting with my family. What did you do this weekend? And have you seen scary stories to tell in the dark? This past weekend, I cleaned. I cleaned a lot this weekend because I was rearranging my studio. I have new gear, and I just want to make sure that I got everything in the positions that I want them to be. And then what else? Worked a bit on It's Me, Billy, the development we're working on there. I have another production meeting with Bruce coming up soon for that. And we're full steam ahead on that. And yeah, nothing too crazy. I also did Saturday movie night for my patrons Saturday night, where I watched Pet Sematary, the original from 1989. That's on my YouTube channel if you want to check out that. Just doing my thing, man, doing my thing. And the weekends are, I'm trying to sort of juggle a few things here, but nothing too crazy, Dominic Venturino says, Dave, would you ever do a con for a meet and greet? Yeah, if they wanted me. Do you mean like just show up at a con, just walking around the con? Or do you mean like be invited to a con? I don't think I'd ever be invited to a con. Who the hell would want to meet me at a con? But I would. Yeah, I would if somebody wants to bring me to a con and I'd go, if the con felt that people would be there who want to meet me, sure, why not? That'd be fun. As somebody who's worked most of my life in the entertainment industry under the anonymity because obviously in voiceover, your voice is heard, but your face is not seen. So it's always a little strange for me putting my face out there now, being more, I remember when I was in LA for, this is 2018. So I'm in Los Angeles for the 40th anniversary convention of Halloween. And my girlfriend and I were in Burbank, and we're walking across this parking lot to go get some dinner. And I hear behind me, Dave McCrae. Now, I'm in Burbank. What the hell? I turn around. It's just somebody who watches me. And I'm like, yeah, hey, how's it going? And we shot the shit for, a minute or two. And then I, moved on. That was strange. I was recognized a lot at the 40th anniversary convention, but that was expected. It's full of Halloween fans, right? That didn't surprise me. But in the middle of Burbank, walking across a parking lot to go get something to eat, that was weird. I don't get recognized here in Toronto or in Canada because when you look at my demographics, only about 4% of my viewership comes from Canada. 70% of my viewers are from the US. Isn't that crazy? 70% of the people that watch me, according to YouTube analytics, are from the United States. 4% are from Canada, and 7%, something like that, are from the UK, I think. And then the other percentages keep to like Australia and things like that. Crazy stuff. So you've probably heard my voice over the years, but obviously wouldn't have known my face. So it's always strange to be recognized in that way, but certainly I do it. Yeah. If somebody wanted me to go to a con, or if the con wanted me to come to the con or whatever, let's, I'm down for it. Why not? It might be kind of fun. Let me see. Oh, it's coming up, almost 12:30. Big G says, will Nurse Karen, H2, and her puppies be in Kills? No. Imagine if Bud was. Bud, he's there. He's in Kills. Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Calabella says, I'm that 7% from the UK. You're part of the 7%, buddy. You're part of the 7%. Kevin Mac 32 says, Texas, baby. All right, Texas. Never been to Texas. Gal Ford's dog says, we have higher population than Canada. Well, yes, you do. That's right. Yep, that's right. No, Canada doesn't have, Canada's got closing in on about 40 million, which isn't a lot compared to the vast expanse of our country, because we're a much larger country in terms of land mass, but our population is not as much. So that's true. But also, it also, you have to factor in as well in terms of the demographic on what's trending, on where the algorithms point my videos in terms of what's trending in each other's countries, right? You know what I mean? So the algorithms on YouTube, my videos are, because of the nature of my videos and movies and Hollywood and things like that, it's gearing towards there. Now, I would imagine that the 4% from Canada that watches me, the vast majority that's probably here in Ontario, because it's the highest populated province, and probably in Toronto, because Toronto is also the third largest film and TV production center in North America. It goes LA, New York, and then Toronto. And Vancouver's up there as well. So that's probably that. But there are some people that, I'm sure there's somebody in Saskatchewan that probably watches me. Who knows? I have no idea. But yeah, it's crazy. Big G says, Ireland. Alrighty, Ireland. Alert, super chat missed. Did I miss a super chat? That's so strange. I don't see it. Let me go back. Let me see if I missed a super chat. And remember, folks, just because I don't read the super chat immediately doesn't mean that I've missed it. Just remember that. I don't think so. I got Mark Warlings, who said, have I seen Dr. Sleep? Got Big G's, who said the tributes about the cons. And Big G also said tributes are done. Oh, wait, no, not that one. This one here. Will Nurse Karen and her puppies be in Halloween Kills? Did I miss another one? Darren says, super chat, Miss Dave. What? Let me see here. I'm going to the top of what it says here on the live board. Frank Riker, I got that one. Chris Baber, Frank Riker, Thoughts of McBride. Hey Dave, the Loomis Samuel Jackson thing. I sent you something in the mail. Got that one. Toronto Freddy, we need another friendship destroy. That one. That's the one you're talking about. That's so okay. There's something I gotta ask my fellow YouTubers whether they are having this problem as well, because you guys will probably have noticed that over the last couple of streams, when you send in super chats, 90% of them I see here, right? I'm looking at the actual window, the one that you look at. And then I have the live board over here where I see all the super chats. And for some reason, sometimes super chats aren't going into the actual chat room board. 90% of them, or 90% of them do, but every now and then one doesn't appear, but it does appear on the board over here on this screen because it obviously actually was sent. I wonder if, I'm going to have to talk to others and see if they're noticing that too, because that's so strange. That's so weird. So maybe just for the time being, I'll make sure to kind of refer to the super chats over on the board and not rely so much on the chat room until I can figure out what the hell is going on, because that's really weird. But yes, the friendship, I've been thinking about it. Toronto Freddy, Aaron, I've been thinking about it. And I think definitely it's something I'm going to do. Definitely something I'm going to do. I'm going to do a third installment of the Friendship Destroyed by Halloween. Where is it? This one here?
Fuck you, man. Come on. Fuck you, man. Come on.
Definitely going to do that, because that'll be fun. And there's other properties and movies I could do as well, which would be fun to do. But definitely, I think I need to do a third installment for Halloween, for the Friendship Destroyed by Halloween, for sure. I think that'll be a lot of fun. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me here on episode 10 of MCRAE Live. I got to skedaddle because I got some things I got to do. I want to thank you for each and every one of you who tuned in today, who sent in the super chats, of course. Really appreciate you supporting the channel on that level and that way. Keeps me scheduling these things and keeps it going. Really do appreciate it. But just by you guys being here in the chat room, asking the questions, having conversations with each other, I think that's my favorite part. Honestly, my favorite part, although I appreciate you asking me questions, of course, my favorite part is seeing you guys talking amongst each other and asking each other questions, because that's how you build community, right? You don't just come here for me. You come here for the other people in the chat room. Hey, what's going on? Hey, Mark Warling, what's happening? Hey, Striker87, what's hanging, right? You know, that's how you build a community, and that's really, really cool. And as usual, if I didn't get to your questions, it's never personal. There's just a lot of people in the room, and I like to be thorough with my answers. So keep trying, right? Don't forget to @Dave MCRAE, because sometimes it can highlight it and sometimes I'm able to see it. So that's an option you can try as well. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I think you guys are awesome, and I will be back. Well, you know, I might be back before if something breaks, if breaking news happens, you never know. But my scheduled time, episode 11, MCRAE Live, this Thursday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.